Good morning and welcome to this first session of the high-level panel on nuclear security here at the Norwegian Nobel Institute. We started up yesterday.
My paper is on the Nuclear Security Summit process, what it achieved, and then what needs to happen now that it's over. And essentially what it says is that the summit achieved some important things, including taking fissile material, nuclear weapon material, out of a number of states, over a dozen states. It created some new institutions for scientific cooperation, but it also left a lot of work undone. And since the summits have ended, and really since the summit, kind of halfway through the summit process, there have been a number of other nuclear issues that have developed that are nuclear security related and that the summits really needed to focus on and didn't, and now we need to focus them in the aftermath. And one of those obviously is the growth of nuclear power in new and unstable regions. Nuclear power growth is not going to be in North America or in OECD countries.
So my paper, recently presented at the Nobel Institute, involves looking into how some of the high-level achievements as part of the Security Summit process can actually be translated into improved practice at the working level. So I look at this through the lens of security culture, what I see as a relatively under-addressed issue at the moment, and some of the mechanisms by which issues around sort of assessment and enhancement can be improved.
My main conclusions in my paper and on the Nuclear Security Summit is that in the broad strokes this has been a hugely important political initiative to promote nuclear security in the civilian sector. But there are some obvious drawbacks on this or shortcomings in this process, notably related to the participation and the number of states involved. The nature of the meetings, the political gift basket diplomacy approach, which is useful in some way but cannot replace the legally binding approach to this. Nuclear security conceptually is primarily about maintaining a world free of nuclear weapons rather than achieving it, and that the disarmament pillar of the NPT cannot be forgotten in these endeavors.
My presentation and paper really focused on nuclear security and the challenges for meeting the nuclear security standards and using nuclear energy for countries that don't currently have nuclear power. The problem that many of them face is that the requirements for nuclear energy production are really high. The countries need to have arrangements for their safe and secure use.
While we need to be concerned about the security of civilian nuclear materials and facilities, we must not lose sight that the world's most dangerous nuclear materials are in nuclear weapon states, and they have materials good for 130,000 nuclear weapons. So we need to focus our energies on bringing those materials and weapons before the international community so that we can work to having a world without nuclear weapons.
We've made a lot of progress through the Nuclear Security Summits and elsewise in increasing the norms and regulations on the nuclear security challenge. And so what I really want to see is, can we find market-driven, business-friendly incentives to bring along the private sector participants in the nuclear security realm, whether they be reactor designers, fuel cycle operators, research reactor operators, radiological material providers, hospitals. There's a lot of the private sector that has a role to play in ensuring that material is properly secured.
We have some threat. This is a threat is provided by terrorists, particularly related with the nuclear threats. And just to prevent this threat, all countries need to cooperate. Especially there is need in cooperation between Russia and the United States, who has a great experience in dealing with this issue and who possesses more than 90% of nuclear weapons and weapons nuclear materials.
I think the way primarily I look at two issues. One is you need to expand this stakeholder base. You need to involve the civil society, expert community and NGO process, as well as the industry, bring them into it. Along with that, there has to be an inclusive process if the issue of nuclear security governance at the global level that has to succeed. So expand the stakeholder base and an inclusive process, both at the international level but also within the country, involve all the different agencies and other stakeholders.
Once at least we're given the opportunity to talk about how we can approach nuclear security, nuclear safety, nuclear non-proliferation, nuclear disarmament, and in a holistic manner. I think that's something that doesn't happen often. We are in a world where we deal with crises rather than anticipating them. I think it was good to have an opportunity to share this with other experts and then see how we can move forward in making sure that we have an integrated approach to all this aspect and mainly nuclear security for this case.